Billy, I was struck. I went back and actually listened to that entire speech again last night, and I was struck that he kept on saying, "We Democrats, we Democrats, we Democrats." He was not afraid to say that, and I think that's something that Democrats now are reflexively afraid to do.
What a sad case that we are now missing great leadership like this, because one of the things that we face on the fiscal scene in the U.S. is this trifecta of fiscal problems: high structural deficits, high debt-to-GDP ratios, and also a lack of political leadership and a broken political process where we can't get the coalition that Mario Cuomo was able to form.
And he was so able to do this at the state level. This is where the real work is done in balancing budgets. But he's always struck me as a little bit like Colin Powell. For whatever reason, he lacked that drive to go through the harrowing ordeal that is a national campaign to actually become president.
I think that he just evoked so much conviction and trust with the public that I think that where he wanted to go, he had to be fully committed. I mean, there's this idea of the politics of governing. He didn't seem to be so much in that camp. He seemed to be, I'm all in, and I'm really going to, do something for the public, or else I'm not going to do it.
But, Sheryl, I was struck, that speech is what we keep talking about. There have been so many obits that I've read this morning that go back to that speech. But that was also the election where Walter Mondale only carried Wisconsin, his home state. So whatever it was they were praising in that speech, it didn't work.
Well, oratory can only go so far.
We've seen plenty of instances of that.
There's also a sense of where's big government? Right?
Yeah.
What's the role of big government? I think that's where the real fight was.
Yeah. And going back to Cuomo's early years as a lawyer, when he graduated law school, he was told, make your name sound a little more American, a little more generic. He was known as being Catholic, and, the Cuomo sounded a little too ethnic for the lawyer world. So I think, he is the type of person that really stuck to his guns on a lot of issues, and that's his legacy.
Well, he has this certain level of authenticity that rings true today, and maybe back in the 80s it was something that people were not yet comfortable with. I mean, he's known for speaking his mind, for being divisive when he needed to, and maybe that plays better in this current
environment. Yet he was able to reach out and form the needed coalitions to get New York State policies in line, and that was the key. We don't have that ability to reach out and grab everybody and say, we've got to work together and let's make it work. Let's do something.
Yeah, Scarlett, you were saying this morning that, all the politicians of our youth are passing away.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing bridge to the past. He was born in 1932. His parents were immigrants from Naples. This is really, it's a completely different generation.
It's a completely different generation. Of course, Andrew Cuomo is part of his legacy, and that continues. And the politicians all around, not just New York, but elsewhere, are coming in with their condolences as well. Bill de Blasio tweeted out last night, upon hearing of the death of Mario Cuomo, that New York has lost a giant. Mario Cuomo was a man of unwavering principle who possessed a compassion for humankind without equal.
Yes, Billy, speaking of somebody who's having trouble bringing together a liberal coalition for reform.